My name is Kathy, and thank you so much for coming to my channel, Crafty Kathy. If this is the first time that you've ever been to my channel, I'd like to say thank you so much for stopping by to check me out. And if you guys are returning, you know I love you from the bottom of my heart. Now this week, my video is going to be on the paint stir sticks. I came up with that idea because I was trying to think of something that's either free or cheap, and a lot of us have it already, and it's very easily accessible. So, I hope you guys like this and you get some inspiration. And I mean, plus paint stir sticks is wood. It's easy to work with. It's easy to make some beautiful projects from. Then we're going to sing our silly little theme song and we're going to jump right into this video. Now, the silly little theme song that we have was born because I said our motto on this channel is we have love, we have laughs, and we have DIYs. And my executive producer likes to sing it every week so he can steal the spotlight, and it was just kind of born that way. So let me grab him. You guys will see what I'm talking about, and let's jump into this video. All right, guys, this is my executive producer, and you can see he likes to steal the spotlight. Now, are you ready to sing our silly little theme song so we can let these people watch our video? Okay. Here on our channel, we got love and laughs and DIYs. 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 Yeah. Woo-hoo-hoo, baby. Yeah. These turned out so beautiful, guys. I hope that you get a lot of good inspiration from this. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, I'd love for you to subscribe and become a part of our family. Don't forget to give me a big thumbs up because it really helps my channel get pushed out there so more people can see me. So let's go into DIY number 1. I'm started off with 6 of those big jumbo size paint stir sticks that you get from Walmart. I'm going to put a scrap piece on the back right here, and it's only temporary. It's just to hold it together so that I can stain it. I make sure that everything is lined up correctly right here. And all we're going to do is give it a really quick stain with my Waverly Antique Wax. I'm going to go over the whole thing with my wax, and then I'm just going to wipe off the excess with a baby wipe. I put a very light coat of the Ivory Waverly chalk paint on after I got everything wiped down with the baby wipe. And I did kind of a wishy-washy coat. That means it's not a full coverage. If you see, I just left a couple little bare spots because it just makes it easier to distress in the end. And now I have this beautiful napkin. Look how pretty this is. And we just want to cut off one square. I wet my fingers with Mod Podge, and then I pull it down to where it's just 1 ply. Now this one had 3 plies, so I had to take it all the way down to 1. And then I like to just wet the end of a very light, small paintbrush and just go around the edges where I'm wanting to pull it apart. I want nothing except for the picture of the truck and the puppy dogs and the Christmas tree going up the top. So I like to use my fingers to pull it apart. That's why I use the water, because I don't like clean edges. I don't like a perfect square. It just makes it look more natural when it's not. I put my Mod Podge down, and we're simply going to lay our picture down on the top of that. And I always start with the middle. I have my saran wrap or plastic wrap already waiting for me. So it's very easy to make that transition because you have to have that plastic wrap if you don't want wrinkles. That saran wrap helps that napkin not stick to your fingers. And I always start off in the center, and then I very slowly go, towards the edges. And then I use my little Mod Podge roller. And like I've told you guys before, you don't even have to have a roller. You can even use like a, cup, like a glass from your kitchen. Just something with that edge on it where you can kind of roll it out. It helps. And I've heard people that said they didn't have any saran wrap on hand, so they can even use a baggie, anything that's plastic, just so that napkin does not stick to your fingers, because it will pull it away and mess up your picture quicker than anything. And guys, there's not a single wrinkle in this. After my napkin had 120% dried, I went with my X-Acto knife through the little ridges that are here, you know, like tracing down through there, just to separate that napkin from the edge so it's not sticking there, because I want it to have a planked look, you know, like a shiplap look. So what I did is just cut it with my X-Acto knife, but you have to make sure it's 100% dry. If not, it's going to tear that napkin. Then I went over the top of my whole picture with the Mod Podge. And then I took a piece of cardboard from an Amazon box and I painted it with my Antique Waverly wax. But I only painted it because I'm going to put this behind my picture and I don't want you to be able to see that box. I just gave it a real quick coat and then I wiped it off with a baby wipe. Now, I don't want the sides of those popsicle sticks rounded like that, so I just took my tin snips and I cut the ends of them off. And this is after I had already used my X-Acto knife. Everything was totally dry, and I just pulled the pieces, you know, took the pieces apart and pulled that piece off the back that I told you that we were going to pop off later. I used that first one that I cut as my example so I would know exactly where to cut all of my pieces off at. And after I cut, I gave everything a really quick little sanding on the end. After I had everything sanded down and ready to go, I just simply laid everything back the way that I wanted it to go and evened it out so I would know where to glue it down, and then I just glued it all down to that piece of cardboard. After I had everything glued back down, I took some of this sheer red ribbon that I purchased at the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to place that right on the very edge because it's not totally even on the edges. So I wanted to hide the edge, and I laid that sheer ribbon down, and then I took that beautiful like lace looking ribbon from the Dollar Tree and just laid that right over that sheer ribbon, and oh my gosh, it was so pretty. My biggest dilemma was trying to figure out what to put on the top of this. I had first put these two stems and I didn't really care much for the way it went. And this is how the crafts evolve as you go along. So here we're just making a little messy bow, and all you do is take a bunch of different types of ribbon. You make an X formation and you tie it in the center. Now I knew I wanted the messy bow on the top, and I was like, it just doesn't look right with this. So I finally settled in with this gorgeous, gorgeous red ribbon. It's really thick. It's like 2.5 inches thick. And all I did was wrap it over a couple of times, and I'm just going to pinch it in the middle to make a simple bow. Now I did this 2 times and pinched those 2 pieces together to make one larger bow. Then I just took some jute twine and tied it in the middle. I had already pulled that first pick off that I didn't like, and then I took this eucalyptus stem that you get from Walmart. I laid one piece over to the side, and look at this beautiful pick that I got from Walmart. They're $1.48. It has this old rusted bell on it, and I absolutely love it. It's my favorite pick that Walmart has. And I'm just going to lay that over the top of that eucalyptus. We're gluing everything down, and then I'm going to put that large red bow kind of off to the side. I still just was not satisfied with the way this looked. So I was like, what am I going to do? And I started playing around, and I laid that messy bow right on the top of that great big bow. And I was like, that's it. That's the look that I was going for. That's how these things evolve. Sometimes one thing doesn't work, but another thing will. Now here I am just dovetailing the ends of my ribbon. I took about 20 of my beads that I get from Amazon, and I just put them on a string of jute. I did not paint them or stain them or anything. I wanted them plain the way they were. I tied 2 simple knots in that. we're going to flip our sign over and we're going to glue those knots down, plus put a piece of masking tape, and that is what's going to make our hanger. And that's all for this sign. I was so pleasantly surprised with this, and I think it came out gorgeous.
It's the night of the dear Savior's birth. Long lay the world in sin and error pining, till he appeared.
For DIY number 2, I had purchased these paint stir sticks off of Amazon. Now, they don't have that little curvy top, which I liked, so you get a whole 12 inches of just a straight stick. Okay, so I took 2 of them, and I'm just going to go down, and I'm going to start at the bottom. I'm going to glue one up. We're going to make a Christmas tree. Now, I started off with 12 inches. And then I'm going to go up to 11 inches, 10 inches, 9, and I go all the way up to 1 inch to form a Christmas tree. This one was super simple. I just measured out and I just cut with my little miter shears each size. And like I said, I started off at 12 at the bottom. I went all the way up at 1. I took one of these Dollar Tree little cutout stars and I'm going to place it at the top. And I take my green aged pine paint. It's a primer and a paint. And I'm going to paint this green. This is a folk art acrylic paint, but with that primer in there, I felt like it only needed 1 coat. And Plaid had sent me this paint called Treasured Gold. And it is a gold color. It's very vibrant. I painted my star with that. And I'm going to take my antique Waverly wax and just do the trunk of the tree. I'm going to apply it and wipe it off with that baby wipe. I wanted my tree to look kind of rustic and farmhouse, so I just kind of used my little distressing brush and went all over this tree with my Waverly antique wax. I got some lights from the Dollar Tree that are these gorgeous stars. I think they're so pretty, and I just wrapped it up around the tree in a motion like you would put tinsel on, you know. And then I just taped that little battery pack to the back. Now, I put 2 of my tumbling tower blocks together because we're going to put this in the front and the back of that trunk to make it stand up. And I just went over it just very lightly with my antique wax. I put some on a baby wipe and wiped it on and back off. I glued 2 of those blocks to the front of the tree and 2 to the back so it would be freestanding. And then I took my Mod Podge and I went over these words that says peace from the Dollar Tree. They say if you put the Mod Podge over it, it will help paint stick. And then I went over it with my white Waverly chalk paint. Then when it was fully dry, I went over it with my Mod Podge once again, and we're going to put some of this Dollar Tree faux snow on that word, and it turned out so pretty. I placed the word peace kind of sideways on my sign, the same way that those lights go in an upward motion. Then I took a little bit more Mod Podge and put it over the word once again and added a little bit more faux snow. Then I took my Mod Podge along the sides of the tree, along the little ledges, and added some faux snow because it kind of looked like the snow had fallen on the tree. This one was really easy to make and turned out so beautiful, and I wanted it to be kind of minimal like this, and I love the way it looks. With DIY number 3, I took some more of those jumbo size paint sticks that come from the Walmart. I took about 6 or 7 of them, and we soaked them fully in water for about 15 minutes. This one came about totally by accident, but I'm so happy that it did. My husband was fooling around and started kind of whittling at one of these wood sticks, and we noticed that when you flipped it off and you can put those sticks together, it made the prettiest little Christmas tree. And you can also take one stick and just make your cuts in it to make it look like a little Christmas tree. Whittling is an old world country craft that you don't ever hear of anymore, but us country folk and mountain folk definitely know about it. You just take a piece of wood, any kind of wood, and you go in a down motion and kind of flip it out. But look, when you flip it out at those curls, how beautiful those are. And when you put them together, it makes the cutest little tree. So I got the idea to take this shadow box that I picked up at the thrift store for $1, and we're going to place a piece of paper down over it, and I picked my gray paper that has the snowflakes on it. It was just shy of the size of the back of this box, so what I did was just cut off kind of little odds and ends and put it together with my glue stick so you could make it fit and you'll never see any lines in it. I like to get little wood pieces off of Etsy, and I found this cute little barn. Look how tiny that is, and it was only like 50 cents. Now I'm going to paint it red, and I'm using this Waverly color called lacquer. A lot of people say they can't find this, and I only found it one time, but it is a darker red than the crimson, you know. So I just painted the bottom part of my barn with the red. I'm painting the top part brown with my antique Waverly wax. I'm going to wipe it off with a baby wipe, and then I just use that baby wipe to color 2 of my trees. And I want you to look how cute these trees are. This is what I was talking about, where you just make a point and then you make little cuts all in it, and you can make any kind of shape and size to your little tree. I did 2 of them brown, and the other 2 I painted with that aged pine by Folk Art. Then I pulled out my black slick paint. I absolutely love my slick paint. It reminds me of the puffy paints from the 80s. And anything that you want to highlight, which I highlighted some things black, like around the barn, and then I used my white slick paint to go around like the little X's in the doors. Anything that you want to highlight, it absolutely makes it beautiful. Now, I have this in my Amazon cart in case you guys want it. That's where I purchased it at, and I got like 5 different colors. I went all over my little trees with my white slick paint to make it look like snow had just fallen freshly on the top of it. And I didn't forget my barn because snow's going to fall on that too. I went and got some of these stickers. Now, these came in that pack of cardstock that I get from Amazon, and I picked the one that said Merry Christmas. And I always start off in the middle of my stickers because it just makes it easier to place it right. I put the back in my little shadow box, and I added a little string of my favorite fairy lights that I had got from On For You, and those are in my Amazon cart too. And then I just placed one of my little pre-made bows up in the corner, and then I thought I'm going to stick a little pine cone in the middle, and she's done.
Christmas memories. I've been working so much lately, I can barely find the time to sleep. Yeah, spend my time running.
I want you to look at the detail in these trees, how adorable they are. You can see every single cut. All right, guys, let's swing into number 4. I have 3 of the 5-gallon paint stir sticks, and I have them cut in a small, medium, and large, like at different lengths. And I'm just going to paint each one all around, inside, outside, upside, downside, with my white Waverly chalk paint. Then I took the other piece that I had, and I cut it just in half, and I'm going to paint it with my mineral Waverly chalk paint. Now what we're doing is making a family of snowmen, and I take Daddy Snowman and just a little scrap piece of fabric to make him a toboggan. I rolled the front of it up, and then I'm just going to wrap it around, and I'm going to glue that in the back. Then I cut off the little bit of excess that I had, and I went up about halfway and I tied my jute twine so we can tie his little toboggan together. And I decided to cut just a little bit off the top because I'm going to cut little strips in it to kind of make it flip out. Then I wanted to make like a little cuff on the top of his toboggan, so I just used a little spare piece of yarn, cut a piece of it off, and glued it right to the top. Now for Mama's snowman, I wanted her to have one of those Russian style hats that are those big boofy hats, and so I just took that piece of yarn and just kind of wrapped it in a circle up at the top. I cut a piece of white fluffy yarn to make it a little ball on the top. And for the little baby, I did the same thing that I did with the daddies. I just cut off a piece of scarf that I got from the Dollar Tree. I made a little cuff in the front. I wrapped it around and glued it in the back, cut off the excess, and then I went about halfway up, took my jute twine, and I tied it. And now we're going to make another little fluffy white ball in the very top of his, just like I did for the mom's. So I cut another little piece of that fabric off and just stuck it right on the top. I wanted the whole family to have like some little embellishment on their little toboggan. So I took just a tiny little piece of pine and I'm going to stick it on Mama's first. And then I took 2 little berries from these pick berries and we're just going to stick them on there. Then I took one of those tiny little light bulbs that I bought at Hobby Lobby a few months back and I didn't know what to do with it. They look like the old style 80s light bulbs and I just stuck that on her hat. I kind of did the same thing for the babies. I've got him a little sprig of the pine, and since he's a little boy, I just stuck a tiny little pine cone in there. And then for the dad, I wanted his to kind of look manly, so all he has is just a little sprig of pine. Now, I took 3 of those tiny little shavings where we had sliced those trees up a while ago, and these are going to be their noses, and I just used my Arteza paint pen to color each one orange. So I started putting together their faces, and I started off with giving each one their little noses. I took my black slick paint to make their little eyes. Now, I am no artist, so with the daddy, I just made him little dots for the eyes and then his mouth. Now, with the babies, I wanted him to have these big, beautiful, huge eyes, you know, like a little baby. And then with the mama, I wanted her to have kind of like she's got makeup on, or kind of like, you know, almond type eyes. And so that was how I put together their little eyes. And then I took my white paint from my slick paint and just made little dots like the light glistening off their eyes. Then to make my snowman freestanding, I took those 2 paint sticks that I painted mineral and I glued each one of them with one of those in the front and in the back. I put baby in the middle and mama and dad on the sides. I got some of those cedar picks that I had purchased off of Amazon and I stuck one sideways and then one going the opposite way. I didn't want too much, but I wanted a little something down beneath them. And then I put 2 pine cones, very small ones from off a pick from Walmart, just down in the middle. And then I felt like they needed a scarf. So I just cut off a piece of each one's material that I had made their hat with and I just wrapped it around their neck. Then I took this white eucalyptus that I had got at the Dollar Tree and I just put a couple sprigs on each side. And I added a few little bells. And I took a pick of red berries that I had got from Dollar Tree, I believe, and I just put a few little rogue berries here and there. And then I took one of the bottle brush trees from Dollar Tree and stuck it in behind and in between the daddy and the baby. And you can't have a tree without a star, so I put the star on the top of my tree. And I have some tiny little snowflake ornaments that I got at Dollar Tree, and I just kind of put them on the front of the scene. And that's all for this sweet little snowman family. Our last one is definitely my favorite. We're going to do a reverse canvas and we're going to make a Santa sign. I believe that this is a 12 by 12. So what I do is go on the outside of the staples with my knife, and then I'm just going to pull my canvas away. Now, sometimes when you're pulling that canvas away, you may pull the picture apart there, but all you do is put a little bit of glue in there and stick it right back together, and it's just as good as new. We're going to take our antique Waverly wax and we're going to go all around our picture frame, inside and out, front and back, and we are just going to wipe it off with a baby wipe. It is a 12 by 12 frame because I used 12 of these paint stir sticks and each one of them is an inch long. So that's how I know. Now I took my white Waverly paint and we're just going to paint each one of these white. Then I took my picture frame and I'm just going to give it a quick little sanding, and then I'm just going to start taking my sticks and gluing those down to my frame. It's unbelievable how easy this is for how beautiful that it turns out. So when I had everything glued down, I took this bag that actually had a Santa picture that is separate from the bag. They had it like they had that foam tape on it holding the picture on, and it's a round picture. So I just took that picture up and I very lightly glued it to the middle of my sign. This Santa bag is from the Dollar Tree, believe it or not. Then I took 6 of those teeny weeny little bottle brushes and I'm going to glue 3 on each side of the Santa down at the bottom. And then I'm going to take my little embellishments that I get from Amazon. It's those tiny picks that you guys just love. And I'm just going to place them kind of going in opposite directions. I took a little bit of white chalk paint and I'm just going to kind of dab it in and out in those pine cones, on the trees. And then I'm going to go all the way around the picture, kind of like I'm dry brushing it. Then I very, very lightly sanded it with my little sanding sponge. Then I took one of those little embossing tools that you get from the Dollar Tree, and it just has like a little tip on it. And this is sped up really, really fast, so it shows you how slow I went. There was a ring around the Santa, and I used my black chalkboard paint to go all the way around that ring to highlight him. And then I used some black chalk paint and that little embossing tool to go in between each of these planks so that they would really stand out and be seen. And that was it for my Santa Claus. He was probably one of the easiest projects and he turned out to be the prettiest, or he's my favorite. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and did get some good inspiration. Now don't forget to give me those thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't subscribed. And if you stuck around all the way till the end of this video, thank you so much. I love you guys. Don't forget the bloopers. I could just hear the people at the Walmart right now. That large lady that stays in the craft aisle all the time is heading to the paint sticks section again. Stop her now! Like, you gonna stand in my way? I will eat you guys. I mean, come on. Anywho, but just in case you have never been to my channel before and you don't know what the silly theme song is, let me tell you. So, because I didn't have a truckload of bloopers for this week, I figured I'd show you a little video of what my family Christmas is like. I absolutely love Christmas when all my Tennessee family comes over to my house to visit.
Well, I was hoping that at least I could come over to my cousin Kathy's house, and that way I could get away from Gladys for a little bit, but that didn't work, did it?
Ain't Ethel? I don't understand why you and Gladys can't just get along. I mean, all y'all do is fight. You've lived together for a long time. You ought to be over it by now. I mean, good Lord. You in your 80s. You figure one of you's gonna take a dirt nap real soon, so you might as well get over it.
I can only hope that it's Ethel that goes first, because good Lord knows I'm still young and beautiful. I've got things I've got to do. You gotta make me laugh. Y'all are so silly. Boy, y'all gotta be the smartest people in Tennessee.
Yeah, right. I mean, Frank drugged me out here. I didn't want to get out of the bed, but figured I might as well come and see my kinfolk up the mountain ways. Now, look, if y'all can't get along and act like decent humans, then I'm not coming back up here to this place because all we do at Christmas time is sit around and fight.
Yeah, we never fought till Gladys stole my sixth husband, Jimmy Joe, Bobby Joe, and JoJo's daddy. But now they're separated, so that's what you get, Gladys. I never wanted your old husband, Ethel. He came to me. It's not my fault that I'm gorgeous in my youth. I just love you guys so much. Every single Christmas is like this, and it just tops my year. I love it here. I love living on this mountain, and I love my family. Merry Christmas! Oh, shut you blabbing, Bobby Joe. If you want to know who your real daddy is, come to me when this garbage is over with.
All right, guys, this is my executive producer, and you can see he likes to steal the spotlight. Now, are you ready to sing our silly little theme song so we can let these people watch our video? Okay. Here on our channel, we got love and laughs and DIYs. 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 Yeah. Woo-hoo, baby. Yeah. You're so lovely.